Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let us continue with Surah An-Nisaa bihawlillahi wa quwwatih. We are on ayah number 138. قال الله تعالى بشر المنافقين بأن لهم عذابا أليما. He says Bashir. It means to give glad tidings. It has the same root letters as Bashara, which means your skin. Because when you receive good news, your complexion changes. And so the effects of the good news can be seen on the skin. However, in this context, the word Bashir is being used in a sarcastic form, and the Quran does use sarcasm. It is saying, give glad tidings, quote unquote, to the munafiqeen, to the hypocrites, that theirs would be a painful torment. As for the word munafiq, we have spoken about that already, so let's reflect on this ayah. We may take that it is the job of the Muslim to inform the kuffar that they are headed to the fire of hell. And this is difficult for many people to do because it seems to come across as rude. But in the theological discussions, we understand that it is not the same as being politically correct or polite. In theological discussions, we are pursuing the truth, whether it offends you or whether it pleases you. So there is no being polite, rather we are pursuing the truth. And if the kuffar are headed to the fire of hell, then we are to tell them that, as the Quran clearly states this. It gives this order in the context of the munafiqeen. However, all kuffar will have a painful torment. This much is well known. Now here somebody may object and he may say, no, we do not tell the munafiqeen and the kuffar that they are headed for Jahannam unless they embrace Islam, because the Prophet did not do this to the munafiqeen, and we do not have any evidence. The answer to that is, this ayah is enough. We do not need any more evidence. If this ayah says, tell the munafiqeen that theirs will be a painful torment, unless they repent of course, then this is what we work with. Simple as that. We do not need to look left and right and search for other evidence. This ayah is enough. We may also take obviously that the munafiqeen are headed to the fire of Jahannam, and that the punishment of Jahannam is alim, it is painful. Ayah number 139. الذين يتخذون الكافرين أولياء من دون المؤمنين أيبتغون عندهم العزة فإن العزة لله جميعا. The last ayah was speaking about the munafiqeen. This ayah gives us a trait of the munafiqeen. He says they are the ones who يتخذون, they take the kafirin as awliya, as allies, min dun al-mu'minin, to the exception of the believers, meaning they take the kuffar as their allies and they do not take the believers, meaning the Muslims, as their allies. The Quran asks, أَيَبْتَغُونَ, are they seeking عِنْدَهُمْ, with the kuffar, al-izzah, meaning an honor? But the Quran says that the honor, all of it, is with Allah. Reflecting on this ayah, we pick up an immense lesson that one of the open and outward characteristics of the munafiqeen is that they ally themselves with the kuffar, be it the Jews or Christians or whatever else. And they do not wish to ally themselves with the believers. And the reason why they do that is because they believe in their corrupt minds that the might and the power and the honor is with the kuffar. Perhaps they are the ones with the strong economy. Perhaps they are the ones with the stronger military. And so if we side with them, their success would rub off on us and we will be on the winning team. This is their thought. And so you see, this is a great way how the munafiqeen expose their own selves. And nowadays it's easy to tell who the munafiqeen are and who are not. And that's on the assumption that munafiqeen even exist today. Because nowadays we have people openly declaring their heresy under this freedom of speech that everyone is celebrating. It's like they're not even scared to hide their kufr. At least back then they had the decency to keep their nifaq in the closet. Now they are all loud and proud. We also learn the vital lesson that all honor is with Allah Jalla wa Ala. He of course is the Al-Aziz, the one who is honored. And so what follows from this is that your tawakkul needs to be on Allah Jalla wa Ala alone and no one else. If your tawakkul is on the mighty kuffar army, then it is just a matter of time that you will be disappointed. Ayah number 140. وَقَدْ نَزَّلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الْكِتَابِ أَنْ إِذَا سَمِعْتُمْ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ يُكْفَرُ بها ويستهزأ بها فلا تقعدوا معهم حتى يخوضوا في حديث غيره إنكم إذن مثلهم إن الله جامع المنافقين والكافرين في جهنم جميعا. He says, it has been sent down to you in the book, meaning the Quran. And here he's referring to Surah Al-An'am, ayah 68, which you may read for yourself. So he says, when you hear the ayat of Allah being rejected, as in kufr being made to them, or being mocked at, وَيُسْتَهْزَأُ بِهَا, and what is referred to by the ayat of Allah are the ayat of the Quran, and also the Shar'i rules that Allah has laid down. So if people are either rejecting these or mocking these, then do not sit with such a people until they yakhudu, delve in or discuss, fi hadithin ghayri, in another type of speech. Meaning to say, you can sit with them if they are speaking about something which is permissible to be spoken about. He says, if you do not do so, as in if you do not leave the company, if they are rejecting or mocking the ayat of Allah, then you will be just like them. And then he says that Allah will collect the munafiqeen and the kafirin in Jahannam all together. Also, when he says do not sit with them, it is not necessarily sitting, it's just that sitting is what most often happens, but rather do not stand with them and do not just be with them in their company. This is what is important. So reflecting on this ayah, we find that the Quran is munazzal, it is sent down bit by bit. So if the Quran is sent down, then that means that Allah Jalla wa Ala is high, because only someone high can send something down. Now the Quran says if you hear the ayat of Allah being rejected or mocked at, what about if you see such a thing? For example, if you see a people desecrating the Quran, they're not saying anything, but they're just doing it physically. So you cannot hear anything, but you see it. Does the same ruling apply? The answer is of course yes. Then what about Allah talking about hearing? It's because this is what most often happens. Otherwise anything which is similar to it takes the same ruling. What this ayah orders us to do is to leave the presence of such people. However, we ask, this ayah, why does it not tell us to forbid the evil? And the answer is that this ayah is not everything we need. It tells us some information, but there are other evidence which give us some more information. They tell us to forbid the evil wherever we see it or hear it, on the condition that we are able to do so. So we take from all evidence, and so we say that if you see an evil, if you can forbid it, or even give advice to people to refrain from the evil, then this is exactly what you should be doing. If you are unable to do so, neither with your hands physically nor with your tongue in terms of giving advice, then you need to hate it with your heart and leave their company. This is the lowest form or level of Iman, meaning to say it is less virtuous than being able to physically put a stop to the evil. This ayah teaches us that simply being in the company of such evil people will give you the ruling as if you're one of them, even if you are not partaking in the actual evil itself. Now why is that? Because you would be giving your tacit approval, and that is good enough to brand you as one of them. So if you are sitting on a table in which alcohol is being served, then even if you're not drinking the alcohol, you would be branded as an alcohol drinker, because you would be giving your tacit approval. Rather, you want to leave such tables. And like this, you can make your analogy with all types of evil. we are not even allowed to give our tacit approval to that which Allah Jalla wa Ala hates. We also find that if being in the company of the evildoers is haram, then how about actually physically helping the evildoers in their sin? That is even more so haram. We also learn the lesson from this ayah to be careful whom you keep company with, and be careful whom you choose as friends, because with the wrong company you will take the ruling as them. We also find that the kuffar and the munafiqeen are going to be in Jahannam, and that Jahannam, the hellfire, exists, and that this is an article of faith. Also, we may take that in this ayah there is one of those situations which is al-idhar fi mawdi' al-idmar, when Allah states something explicitly when you do not expect Him to do so. He told us that do not sit with them. Initially, that's what He says. Then He goes on to say that Allah will collect the munafiqeen and the kafirin in Jahannam. Whereas what you would expect Him to say is that Allah will collect them in Jahannam, meaning those people who are mocking and rejecting the ayat of the Quran. But He states it explicitly, Jami'ul munafiqeen wal kafirin. Now why would He do this? He does it for the fa'idah, or for the benefit, to tell us that the munafiqeen and the kafirin are the ones who reject and mock the ayat of Allah. هذا والله أعلم.